That bourbon-drinking bullshit artist should be dragged out by his fucking hair with his face pressed against the pavement and made to answer for this absolute fucking betrayal that he took part in.
Trump is now saying that the concern surrounding his administration putting classified information in a group chat with a journalist is a witch hunt.
So I'm sure you guys have seen over the past couple of days, there was a Signal group chat leak in the Trump administration with Mike Walls, Pete Hegseth.
You can't poo-poo it. You can't downplay it. You have to sit up there and be like, holy shit, this is a up of epic report.
The statements by Hegseth, Gabbard, Radcliffe, and Trump, combined with the assertions made by numerous administration officials that...
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it.
Bum, bum, bum. Can someone remind me?
Let's be real. Our national security feels like it's being managed by a sleep-deprived college group project that forgot the deadline. If this administration has proven anything, it's that reality can outdo fiction. We're living through a political thriller so absurd even Hollywood would reject the script. Secret war plans casually floating around in a group chat with a journalist? That's not just careless, it's a masterclass in self-destruction. And the wildest part? The guy who once played commander-in-chief, the one who called generals my generals, doesn't even seem fazed. If he's worried, he's hiding it under that signature orange poker face. Meanwhile, his inner circle is leaking classified intel like it's the hottest celebrity gossip. National security? More like national scandal?
You can't poo-poo it. You can't downplay it. You have to sit up there and be like, holy shit, this is a up of epic proportions. There will be accountability. I will get to the bottom of this. And frankly, I think I don't like calling for people's heads. Michael Waltz, it seems like you're the guy who added him to the group chat. You have to lose your job. You should step down. You cannot be adding random people to a group chat with this sensitive, classified information. Just be like, oh no, poo-poo, it's on him. He should have left the group chat instantly. This guy shouldn't have stayed in. It's on Jeffrey Goldberg for not immediately being like, hey, I should be here. No. It's on you for adding him.
Where the are you right now? I'm talking to the Joint Chiefs. I'm talking to Pentagon brass. I'm talking to every flag officer who ever swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. A group of reckless, arrogant, power-drunk fascist wannabes just texted war plans like they were coordinating brunch. And not a damn thing's being done about it. Let me say it louder for the suits that are hiding behind protocol. War plans! Sensitive, classified strategy information that could risk the lives of our troops, our intelligence operatives, our allies, transmitted over unsecured communication with a f***ing journalist in the chat. And Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of Defense, was one of them. That bourbon-drinking bullshit artist should be dragged out by his f***ing hair with his face pressed against the pavement and made to answer for this absolute f***ing betrayal that he took part in.
So I'm sure you guys have seen over the past couple of days, there was a Signal group chat leak in the Trump administration with Mike Walls, Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, and several other people that are outside or close within the administration. Many people on the right are saying, oh, it's not a big deal, or whatever. People on the left are freaking out. But in all reality, it doesn't matter which side this happens to. It's going to rightfully get criticized because that's your responsibility to secure information. If something like that gets out, especially because you accidentally put a journalist in the group chat, that's a real question that everyone should be asking.
Saying that the concern surrounding his administration putting classified information in a group chat with a journalist is a witch hunt. He's using the same old tactic he always does. In the Oval Office today, when he was asked about the controversy, he defended Pete Hegseth and then said, quote, I think it's a witch hunt. Also tried to blame the Signal app itself, saying that it was at fault and that he believed it could be, quote, defective, even though Mike Waltz, his national security advisor, had taken responsibility for a journalist being added to the group chat. And then he backtracked on one of the administration's central claims, which is that no classified information was shared in the group chat. He was asked if he still believes that no classified info was shared, and he said, quote, "That's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm not sure. You have to ask the various people involved."
Mr. President, your reaction to the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
Jeffrey Goldberg released the text in which we saw yesterday the Trump administration say it wasn't classified, and here they are. These messages, which we'll go over some in a moment, showcase that, yeah, there was some things in here that was very time sensitive that probably shouldn't have included some other people that shouldn't have been there. And so Goldberg, writing in The Atlantic this morning, the statements by Hegseth, Gabbard, Radcliffe, and Trump, combined with the assertions made by numerous administration officials that were lying about the content of the Signal texts, have led us to believe that people should see the texts in order to reach their own conclusions. Adding, if this information, particularly the exact times American aircraft are taking off for Yemen, had fallen into the wrong hands in that critical 2-hour period in which he got these messages, American pilots and other American personnel could have been exposed to even greater danger than they ordinarily would face. And to be honest with you, this is what he's talking about. This right here, which is by Pete Hegseth, where this gives times exactly when things are being launched. Time now, 11:44, weather is favorable, just confirmed with SETCOM, we're a go for the mission launch. 12:15, F-16 launch, first strike package. Then it goes on more and more and more.
Picture this. If this circus had unfolded under Biden, the MAGA crowd would be losing their minds on Fox News, flags waving, voices hoarse from screaming treason. There'd be impeachment demands before breakfast was even on the table. But now, silence. Or worse. People bending over backward, twisting logic into a pretzel to defend the indefensible. It's less, make America great again, and more, make America regret again. And let's talk about the audacity in that group chat. These aren't just internet trolls stirring up chaos. These are people with real power, acting like they're competing on who wants to jeopardize America today. The arrogance, the ego, the complete disregard for consequences. It's like they're playing with fire just to see what burns. At this point, it's not about left or right. It's about accountability. We're not at a simple crossroads. We're at a 5-lane highway with no traffic signals. And the ones behind the wheel? They seem more interested in farming Twitter engagement than steering this country in the right direction. It's time to stop treating this like political theater and start recognizing the wreckage in its wake. The real question isn't just where we're headed. It's whether we're watching history unfold or a slow-motion disaster with VIP seating.
Oh, this group chat drama just keeps getting better. So as we all know by now, after all the group chat drama came out, Trump and his team are doubling down, lying, saying, no, we didn't do that. No, it's not a big deal, yada, yada, yada. So you know what the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, who originally wrote the first article, did today? He published receipts, mama. Look at this. He said, oh, you said you weren't talking about war plans, that war plans were never talked about. Oh, okay, what's this then? Oh, it's too good. Literally a timeline of war plans. They spent all of yesterday being like, no, war plans weren't talked about. No, he's over-exaggerating. He's being crazy. We weren't talking about anything like that would breach national security. No way. Oh! like, what are they gonna come out and call this then? Oh my God. They just cannot do anything. They can't even lie right. I mean, did they really think that the reporter was up in that group message watching them and taking notes on what they were doing and didn't take notes on everything? Let alone took screenshots? cool. Anyway, Pete Hegseth, Mike Waltz, Marco Rubio, JD Vance, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, can't forget about her. They all have to fucking go. And again, I remind you of the hypocrisy of this group of people who came after Hillary Clinton incessantly for corresponding on a not private email server. And they expect to just be able to do this with absolutely zero consequences. Just lying their way through it, being like, no, we didn't do that. That's dumb. Why would you even say that? No, that's not a big deal. I give you Exhibit A or Exhibit fucking Z at this point, right?
We are now actively bombing foreign countries on behalf of Israel and lying to the American people. And the administration is even creating the most ridiculous hoax I have ever seen. A group chat that was somehow miraculously leaked by adding a member of The Atlantic, not just any member, the chief editor, and not just any leftist publication, but the one responsible for the Russia hoax, so that we'll all be arguing over this partisan bullshit. And the narrative gets to continue to play that we're somehow doing this over shipping interests. Because if you look at the leaked information, which is just a direct insight into exactly how our government is talking to each other, because they would message each other like this. This is the part they wanted you to read. This is the part they wanted you to believe. Oh yeah, this is why we're doing it. This is not why we're doing it. But this is why this whole stunt of leaked text messages was created, was to get you to think that that was what was going on. And that the issue here that we should all be arguing about is national security. We have Tulsi Gabbard saying there's nothing classified about this information. Yeah, of course not. You made this information. You published this information. This is propaganda. The entire administration is such a letdown, and it's so obvious now who's just on here to grift. Who's an influencer. Who's not willing to just point out and be like, yo, we're being lied to. And the Trump administration is not doing what it said it would do. Where are the mass deportations? That just stopped. We're busy giving Israel our money and fighting wars for Israel and risking American lives. We're getting ready to go to war with Iran on behalf of Israel and risk a nuclear annihilation. And everything we voted for is out the window. It doesn't matter anymore. The most important thing to every single department in the Trump administration is Israel. You have the Department of Health and Human Services saying October 7th was a Holocaust. This is the biggest letdown ever. And that's why I haven't been making videos. And I'm just regrouping and getting ready for the fact that once again, I'm going to be hated by everybody. When Biden was in power, I pointed out everything that the people in power were doing wrong. And Trump was only running for office. And I said, everything he's saying sounds right to me. And why? Now that Trump is in office, I will hold him to task. And he's not doing what he said he would do. He's actually doing the opposite of it. He's not ending foreign wars. He's not ending foreign aid. He's increasing it and making all of it for Israel. Everything the United States has been doing has been for Israel.
At this point, it barely matters. The group chat, named Houthi PC Small Group, sounded like something you'd expect from a casual Zoom meeting. Instead, it became one of the most jaw-dropping national security screw-ups in recent history. Inside that Signal chat were some of the most influential names in Trump's administration: Vice President JD Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, DNI Tulsi Gabbard, and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. The subject? Coordinated strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen. But here's where it gets bizarre. A journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg, editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, was accidentally added to this chat. Yes, accidentally. A journalist with no security clearance was now listening in on live, real-time discussions of classified military operations, weapon systems, strike timings, sensitive logistics, talked about like they were deciding what to order for brunch. This wasn't just a simple mix-up. Goldberg did what journalists do. He reported it. He published a redacted transcript of the chat, and the consequences were as explosive as some of the airstrikes they were discussing. Trump dismissed it as a minor glitch and called Goldberg a sleazebag. Defense Secretary Hegseth played it off as non-classified team updates, but national security experts are not buying that excuse. Brian Finucane, a former State Department attorney, was blunt. That information should have been classified. Now, senators on both sides are calling for investigations into the use of unsecured messaging apps for sensitive matters. Here's the real question. In a time when secure communication is crucial, Are we ready to face the consequences of those at the top treating national security like a casual text message? Let us know what you think. Should high-ranking officials be held to stricter communication standards, or are we just beginning to see how deep the problem goes? Hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around for more stories that expose what's really going on behind the scenes in power and politics.